Welcome everyone, Costin here on Serious Gaming with a guide for the Scoia'Tael faction in the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt for Gwent. As with my other videos, you can find the links in the description of this video, one of which is a guide for the location of every card in the game, the other a map for every Gwent player in the game. Anyway, Scoia'Tael. Well, they can be powerful, but they have certain drawbacks. They have no spies, no siege equipment, and they're not quite the Zergfest that the monster faction is. But that said, they do have their own strength. Unlike Nilfgaard, which has terrible leaders, many of these leader cards are actually quite powerful. They can be annoying to build properly, however, to make them really powerful. Their initial leader ability is also quite useless given their playstyle. You've got 3 leader abilities to pick from: Daisy of the Flower, the Beautiful, and Queen of the Old Blafana. Those are the only ones that are worth using. The 4th one, no. Daisy of the Valley, draw an extra card at the beginning of the battle. A decent enough one. Francisca Finbear, the Beautiful, doubles the strength of all your ranged combat units. Quite decent if you focus on range. And then Queen of the Old Blafana, which destroys the enemy's strongest close combat units if the combined strength of all of his or her close combat units is 10 or more. Now, personally, I prefer Daisy of the Valley, though the Queen of the Old Blafana is also decent. The Beautiful one is only useful if you go for a range build, and that's not necessary. The most powerful build for Scoia'Tael is going with the Dwarven Skirmishers, the Havakar Smugglers, and a decent amount of agile cards, or, well, in my case, 3 of them. Barclay Els, Dolphin Scout, and Yavin. Now, agile cards can be placed in melee or ranged. Depends on how the situation is. Depends on how the dice rolls. And your most powerful card is Milva, which adds 1 strength to each card, right? Excluding herself, right? Dandelion is also quite useful because your main strength is melee. Yes, you would think the Scoia'Tael would be more powerful in range, but they are actually most powerful in melee because of the Dwarven Skirmishers, the Havakar Smugglers. You can play them in ranged, but really that's not a good idea. You are versatile between ranged and melee, depends on how you play. There's 2 main play styles, and I'll cover both of them here. I'll start with the melee build. You need the Havakar Smugglers, you need the Dwarven Skirmishers for this to work. And although you can get the Elven Skirmishers to top it off to have master cards mean that when you play a card of this type, all those cards, either in your hand or your deck, are played on the battlefield. Obviously, you only want to have 1 of these cards in your hand versus having all 3 of the Dwarven Skirmishers, because that just means you're playing 3 cards instantly instead of, 1 by 1. And, playing cards 1 by 1 is important in Gwent because you want your opponent to use his cards in a single round instead of just keeping them. Master cards also have the problem that if you go for too much strength initially, then your opponent will just skip the round because he realizes he will lose. So you need to be cautious with that as well. But it is more powerful. Havakar Smugglers, Havakar Healers as well. Very powerful cards. This is the most powerful build if you get them. It can be a pain in the ass to get them. If you don't have all 3 of them, then it's pointless to play with Dwarven Skirmishers. Or just replace them with the Old Blafana Scouts. Havakar Smugglers, even if you just have 2 of them, are still worth playing. Hell, even 1 is a decent enough because they are 5 strength. Hero-wise, you do have 4 heroes as every other faction. The only one that matters is Isengrim because he buffs your melee units. Okay. And as always, Villain Threat is useful and Dandelion are useful. I will remove Triss as always. I got into the habit of just using Triss. Now, when you're going for a melee build, it's just pointless to have Biting Frost. Unless you're fighting monsters, but there's another way around that particular situation. I'm not sure if my opponent here is actually playing monsters. If you're fighting monsters and he uses a lot of powerful cards, he goes with Neckers, Vampires, and Crones all at once, and Arcus all at once on your head, then just lose that round. Try and bait him to use all those cards in the first round, then lose that round and win in the next one. That's the strategy that I personally use when I don't have Biting Frost. Biting Frost can be useful Another way of handling this is to have the Queen of Dol Blafana, which is actually what I'm gonna go in case he actually is using a monster deck. There's no particular reason to choose any card over the other in terms of these 6 strength cards. Don't go with Ida Yamin though, she's not really that useful. Only go for her if you don't have anything to pick. Don't go Dol Blafana Archer or Vryhead Brigade Recruit or Kieran or Teruvial or Riordan, because they're useless as cards, completely and utterly fucking useless, right? Even if you don't have anything else to play for Scoia'Tael deck, then just don't play as Scoia'Tael instead of playing with Riordan, because he is that useless. Alright, the Scoia'Tael perk, not really that powerful, not really that useful to have. I'll remove one of these Commander Horns, I'll go with Decoy instead, and actually I'll remove both of them. I get 2 healers, I have 3 healers, courtesy of Yennefer, and 1 spy. And my opponent is Nilfgaard, and I've avoided playing against Nilfgaardian players up until now for a reason. They're terrible. Shit. Okay, biting Frost. Well, I'll bite you. Let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna put Elspeth in my deck. Passes, and I win. Barely, certainly, but I do win. Alright, let's use the Queen of the Dryads. I'll also use Yennefer to revive one of the dead cards. Okay. Yeah, it's in the bag, no problem. Look at 3 random cards. That's gonna help you a lot, Amir. Nope, not really. I'm not sure why it's typed Havakar instead of Hawker, because it should be Hawker, not Havakar. It's just weird like that anyway. Valiant Threat. Well, he won there. Because that's what happens when you put all your eggs in one basket. You focus on melee. Well, let's go again. I did make some mistakes there, some big ones. So replacing that. Also, you know, the ultimate comes down to what kind of cards you get as well. Right now I have too many weather cards. I'll keep that weather card for later. Clear weather card when it all goes away. I'll play Alfine. He does have more cards than I do. So I'm just gonna play some useless weather cards. I will deliberately lose this round so he can continue wasting his cards. I'll just play Villain Threat as my final card, deny him that young emissary. He'll deny me my Villain Threat, my dragon. Actually, screw it, I think I can win this one. Why not? Let's go with Melba. And that's where the weakness of the Nilfgaardian deck really shows itself. 3 and 4 strength cards. If Nilfgaard had more powerful cards, he might have won
Welcome
there.
to my workshop.
That's the problem. Nilfgaard doesn't have more powerful cards.
Don't know that I'm gonna buy anything.
Okay. Now the build I've gone so far with Dwarven Skirmishers, not that you've ever really seen it in action, since I haven't really gotten it. Now that relies on you having a lot of powerful cards, but what if you don't have all these cards? What do you do then? Let's assume, let me get rid of even one healer. I don't think getting 2 healers is really that difficult. So what do you do then? Well, you play with the Right-Head Brigade. I'm gonna go with that. Don't use the Mahakam Defenders unless you really need to. Like really. Unless you're desperate. Which in my case, given that I like cards, I kinda have to, right? Though I'll go with Vesemir to fill up that. And actually Triss as well in this case. Just to fill the deck up. And in this case, I can play these cards either in melee or in ranged. Gonna get rid of the Fog, the card healer. I'll get rid of one of the healers, Barclay Else. I don't know who that guy is, don't remember. Of course, the problem with having all these cards that are 6 strength is that he can just use a Scorch on you, and your opponent can just use Scorch on you and kill all your cards in one single move. That's a bit of a problem. Oh, yeah. Let's revive. Revive the Dol Blafana Scout. The Impera is destroyed, and he will not be able to recover from that. And that's how most games as a regular Scoia'Tael player will go, at least against Nilfgaard. If you're against monsters, then you have a problem. Monsters, I'll try and find a monster player actually. Maybe I can. Maybe I can't. There's a merchant, but he's on the other side, and wait, there is one here, and he'll play Gwent with me. Not sure if he has a monster deck though.
Come serve.
Yeah, he plays Gwent.
Don't know that I'm gonna.
Same build as before. Actually, in this case, I'll go with the Beautiful to double my... Go first. Maybe actually a better idea to let the opponent go first. Alright, I get a lot of scouts as a result of this, and he's got monsters, so that's all well and good. Right. I have no counter to said monsters, but I'll deal with it. I got Avalok. that Queen of Dol Blafana may have actually been useful here to counter the Zerg of monsters that will surely come in just a minute. Pulling Milva back. Past. Not a really smart idea. Well, I'll just play Milva again. Then play Scorch. And then, well, I could double. Actually, should I double? No. Or actually, yes, fuck it. Double. Range cards. I'll get Milva back next round using the Hawker Healer. And those Dol Blafana scouts will go. Oop, that hurts. Like a ton of bricks. Well, most cases when an enemy does that, you'll find yourself losing, but since I have Geralt and Elfine and also final Dol Blafana Scout, okay. This round is lost. There's nothing I can do about this. He played the Crones, all three of them. That's, yeah, that's why you should always have a Biting Frost. But that's why you can counter by just losing that round, having the opponent use all his cards and winning. Because the AI is stupid like that in the sense that it won't realize when a round is clearly won for him. Like sometimes he will realize, but very rarely. But most time is like, yeah, I'll just play an extra card instead of passing because, well, reasons. Stupid reasons, I might add. Well, that's about it for the Scoia'Tael deck. The monster deck, now that's very simplistic to deal with, but I will.